BBOR Black Box Online Radio, coming to you from West Virginia. BlackBoxNed88 on Instagram for the bonus podcast. And just a quick reminder, every Monday is Zodiac Mondays. Wednesday is an Ask Me Anything. That's an AMA, so please drop your questions below for things that you would like discussed here on the show. And Friday is an Anything Goes. Any subject is fair game, mostly talking about true crime, serial killers, the Zodiac Killer, but any subject is welcome. All right, so please share some ideas in the comment section about what you would like to hear about on this channel, and let's get started. Okay, hello everybody. Today is Friday, another Anything Goes Friday. Welcome to the show, and this is our Halloween celebration. Happy Halloween to you all. This episode is going to be coming out on October 29th. I wanted to put it out because maybe people could listen to it over the weekend, and it is a couple of days before Halloween. However, I hope that this will make it to you on Halloween some way or another. But I'm also bringing that up because this weekend we will see the return of the debunking series. Today is October 29th, and tomorrow is October 30th. And that will be a day of resting in peace, mourning, silence for the memory of Sherry Jo Bates, who was murdered on October 30th of that year, back in October 30th of the year 1966. So I decided not to do tribute episodes on the exact days. I did do an episode about Sherry Jo Bates recently, which you can hear on YouTube. But also, there will be an episode coming out on Halloween on October 31st, but it will not be about Sherry Jo Bates. Instead, there will be a return of the debunking series. So please look out for that coming out on the 31st of October. And if you're listening to this in the future, there's a playlist on this channel talking about debunking certain Zodiac killer suspects. A suspect that I think absolutely is not the Zodiac killer, that absolutely had nothing to do with the Zodiac killer mystery, or even if they had some involvement, they weren't the Zodiac. There are several episodes already on the playlist, and it will return this weekend. I haven't been working on that series because I've just been a little bit busier, and I have been trying to do the AMAs that normally came out on Wednesdays on the weekend, so I could respond to your questions and comments, and we could go through the material together and have a discussion. I love reading your comments and incorporating them into the episodes because I get to learn what you guys are saying. How are you responding to the material that I put out about not only the Zodiac Killer on Zodiac Mondays, but about all kinds of true crime cases. And I did one episode earlier this month talking about horror movies because somebody posted it on Facebook, actually, a horror movie challenge, just going through some basic horror movie questions. But anyway, happy Halloween to you all, and as always, you can download this program at LaunchPad 1. There's a link to that in the description box. That's the audio version as a pure podcast. You can go over to Amazon.com, look at the book Killer on a White Horse by me, and there is always the Teespring page. Feel free to have a look at some of the merchandise, and remember, being weird is not a crime. So, yes, we will celebrate Halloween, but I have an icebreaker challenge question for you guys. I heard this on an episode of The Rational Mail, which is hosted by Rollo Tomasi here on YouTube, and I'm going to be changing a few of the words in his challenge question because I want to make it just a little bit more interesting. But what it was is that anytime you watch a husband and father on television, he falls into one of the three categories. The first is the dumb dad, the second is the beta male schlup, and the third is the borderline abuser, a husband and father character. And the real question is, what is a schlup? I've never heard that word before. I mean, schmuck or a lump or something, but schlup? Okay, well, but no, the dumb dad category, that's meant to be like the Homer Simpson or Peter Griffin from Family Guy. And when you said beta male schlup, the first one that I thought about was Anthony Anderson's character on Blackish, because I've been watching that series. And I mean, that you can see like how that character falls into a category like that because he is very emotional. He often gets his feelings hurt. His wife is also the more conventionally masculine figure. She earns more money than he does. She does the things with the power tools. She does the grilling. They had a whole episode about that, calling her a cave woman and so on. I mean, it's just meant to be humorous. It's not meant to be, like, overly analyzed. But yeah, a beta male schlub. And the third is the borderline abuser, which I think comes into play more in those cable dramas. But it's somewhat of a hard challenge question because I was instantly thinking, oh yeah, absolutely, I can think of all kinds of male characters. Oh wait, no, the one I think about, he's not a husband and father. He was just the boyfriend. Or the next one I was thinking of. Oh no, wait, they were engaged in season 2, but they didn't actually get married. So, would you like to respond to that? Can you think of a male TV character that is a husband and father that does not fit into one of those categories: the dumb dad, the beta male schlup, whatever a schlup is, and the borderline abuser? I have to insist, I think the borderline abuser would be somebody who is not necessarily committing acts of physical and emotional abuse, but is very close to it, or maybe even someone who is just a very intimidating male presence. Like if you ever watched that '70s show, maybe the character Red Foreman would fall into that because he's always threatening to put his foot into people's asses. Like, I'll put my foot in your ass. No, he's not an abuser, but I think that's what they meant to say, that he is often trying to be like the old-fashioned tough guy, the Vietnam vet and so on, who can obviously kick his son's ass, and he's very disappointed that his son is not more of a tough guy. And I mean, that's really hard to call that an abuser. That just seems more like, well, what people were like growing up. Did you guys ever watch that '70s show, by the way? I heard they're going to be making some type of new movie or new series, like that '90s movie or that '90s show is going to be coming out. I think it's on Netflix. I'm curious to see what happens. Reboots are popular, but there's so many of them that are happening right now that I can't really follow them too easily because there are other things that I'm trying to watch. But for the first time in a long time, I went to a movie theater to watch Halloween Kills. Yes, Michael Myers, I absolutely love that stuff. But with Halloween Kills, a big reason why I saw it was because there were just so many people posting about it on Facebook and all of these jokes and memes and references to the film. And I'm like, number one, I really want to see that movie. I've waited like 2 years for it. Number two, I've been just trying to stay in the loop to figure out what's going on. And I was watching Halloween Kills in the theater, and I was very disappointed. It was a giant roller coaster of a film. At some times, I'm like, wow, that's really good. I like that. Other times, I'm like, this is ridiculous. This sucks. It's taking a very mysterious storyline, and they're kind of filling in the gaps of something mysterious with something that is less entertaining than just open-ended mystery. But you know, you can watch Halloween Kills also on Peacock. But at one point, I was even thinking, I'm just gonna walk out of this. I never walk out of a movie in the theater, not in 25 years, but I was in the mood to do that. As I said, though, it's a very big roller coaster film. There are good sides and bad sides. Halloween from 2018 was a pretty excellent film, though. Like, I thoroughly enjoyed that. I had a good time all the way through. I thought it was well done. I thought it was a good way to restart the franchise. Not exactly restarting, because all those movies that are about Michael Myers are based on the 1978 one, and that storyline is continuing onward. It's just sometimes they cut out certain sequels and they restart the storyline after the first film. But anyway, I'm going to go over to a website, iTestLJ, that has some Halloween questions here, and it says, do you believe in ghosts? The short answer is no. I'm absolutely fascinated by these ghost stories, and I want to know the truth. And that's one of the reasons why I think I do a lot with true crime, is you simply want to know what happened. You want to know, how do people respond to humanity, and how do people respond to nature, and how do people respond to life? What is going on in the world, under the sun and in the darkness? What is actually happening? So anytime I hear a ghost story, I want to know the reasons behind it. And last October, I did a series on the paranormal cases. It started for a rather bizarre reason. I just wanted to talk about this during the month of October because of Halloween and all, but also to do some things that were different than just true crime. And I found that it wasn't very popular. But I was talking about the haunting of Sloss Furnace in Alabama, which is an old steel mill, for lack of a better term. And they had this story of this guy named James Slag Wormwood, who was the foreman of the graveyard shift, and he was thrown into a vat of molten steel, and that his ghost haunts Sloss Furnace in Alabama. And I was like, James Slag Wormwood? That doesn't sound like a real person's name. It sounds like it's out of a Dickens novel. So I decided to read up on that more and more, and I found out that, yes, indeed, that is a fake name. It's actually based on the story of Richard Jowers, who died in a steel mill in Alabama, not in Sloss Furnace, but in one on the other side of town. And the Alabama historians have looked at how that story evolved over 100 plus years, where this guy fell into the vat of steel mill and they could see him dancing in the flames for more or less a second or a minute. And I mean, in a very short amount of time. I mean, by that I just mean they could see his body being incinerated. And that story was then moved to a different location. They said that this ghost is haunting this place, and then eventually they said that the ghost was haunting Sloss Furnace, but it's based on a completely different person. As far as I know, there never was a James Slag Wormwood. And the two Dickens characters that first came to mind were Mr. Talkinghorn and McChoakumchild. Mr. Talkinghorn is from Bleak House, and McChoakumchild from Hard Times. But I just want to know, like, just stuff like that. What is actually happening? And I've also pointed out a few things, like when I had the coworker who said that a ghost picked her up once and slammed her against a wall. Now, that is not just a noise that goes bump in the night, or that isn't just the wind. That's what actually happened to her. So I'm definitely curious of things like that. What are some symbols of Halloween? Costumes, jack-o'-lanterns, black and orange. Yeah, I did the whole jack-o'-lantern thing this year, but I also did drip pumpkins for the first time. It's so much easier and so much faster, and I like the result. I mean, you just pour the paint onto the pumpkin and whatever design you get, and they're going to stay much longer. You see, here in West Virginia, we have pumpkins on the porch regularly. It shocked me back in, what year was it? Was it 2018? Like in the month of July or something, people were already putting pumpkins on the porch. I saw that in a couple places, and they keep them on the porch until the end of November, more or less. Sometimes you'll see pumpkins on the porch until December. But I was really quite surprised. I never noticed this as a kid. I came to West Virginia in 1995. I lived in Maryland until I was about 7, but other than that, it's been pretty much all West Virginia, except for about 2.5 years. And I just never noticed that people put pumpkins on the porch. They don't carve them, they just make these displays with the pumpkins, and they stay until the winter time, more or less. So, West Virginia has something really good that I was talking about in the last episode. We have 2 weeks when it's like the last 2 weeks of October. It's the absolute best time of the year when it's not hot, it's not cold. You have the scent of autumn in the air, like the leaves are all changing colors, and then it's like hot cider and pumpkin spice, this and that, and it's amazing. Except it didn't happen this year. That 2 week period went into 2 days, and like we skipped over autumn and then went right into early winter here in West Virginia. And it's been nothing but drizzles and dreary weather since then. I'm kind of bummed about it, but at the same time, so many other things are going on, such as life. And we have one here. Are you still eating Halloween candy? I haven't for the last 2 years, but I do plan on doing some more of that in the this year. I'm just gonna go like buy a big bag of candy and eat the whole thing myself. Screw trick-or-treaters. I'm doing this on my own. Now we have one question here. What is your favorite magical story? Now, I don't know if you guys would want to hear this, but magic can't exist, right? Because when we use the term magic, it's almost exclusively relevant to fiction. because it means that that's just that. It's a fictional story. If magic were to actually exist, then it wouldn't be magical. It would be science. It'd just be an additional part of science that hasn't been evaluated. As far as a favorite story, no, I don't have any favorites, but I liked Harry Potter, absolutely. I confess, so I never saw the eighth film if there was one. I mean, I think that that happened once. I was probably just a little off my head with back in my days of binge drinking and so on. But I don't remember that part of the decade too clearly. But also, The Lord of the Rings, I think, heard is going to be getting a new reboot soon. When I was in junior high, I loved The Lord of the Rings, and I know it's nerdy and so on, and you want to talk about The Lord of the Rings about around the cool kids, and then they make fun of you or something. But then they made those three movies with Elijah Wood and Ian McKellen, and then all of a sudden there was this resurgence of The Lord of the Rings is cool for a little while. Now they made the three Hobbit films with Martin Freeman. I saw the first one. I fell asleep during the second one, and I didn't really know if that was necessary to make three of them. I mean, that could have been one awesome movie. However, no, I loved Tolkien, and I wanted to live in Middle Earth, and I wanted to be part of Middle Earth. But what is your favorite magical film? I think that that's a little bit more challenging because I would hopefully want to. I'm gonna have to go with Harry Potter 1, like Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, because I think that started a very long and successful franchise, and not only were did they make some movies that I thought were pretty entertaining, it was also the anticipation, the excitement. Everybody was so hyped up to see the latest Harry Potter film. But do you believe that dead people can come back to life as ghosts? Not exactly. I mean, they're definitely going to be like part of the earth and then part of the cosmos in that respect. But are they actually going to be like a ghost that we can talk to? Well, I'm not sure. Would you talk to a ghost if you could? I would love to talk to a ghost if I could. Just be like, hey, bro, how's it hanging? You get it? Because you're a ghost and you can float. I guess not all ghosts float. I was thinking more of that, like, Casper stuff. But, see, Casper's a friendly ghost, right? So why wouldn't I want to chill with him or something? I wouldn't want to talk to one of those ghosts that is trying to destroy me out of pure evil. I mean, what would be the point of that or something? No, but a ghost that is just going to be chill, who wants to sit on the couch with me and watch the game and so on. Why not? Do you know any good stories about ghosts? Well, do you mean fiction or like real life paranormal hauntings? Because when you're watching shows like Ghost Hunters and Ghost Adventurers, I've never been too impressed because it's like they're walking in a dark area and then they're like a noise and then they run away. And I don't know if it was Ghost Hunters or Ghost Adventurers, but during one of those things that I was just watching while channel surfing, the guys were like, okay, I know we're looking for ghosts, but then we thought we actually found one, so our instinct was to run away. And I was like, dude, that what, you're looking for something and then you're too scared to find it? I mean, what are you talking about? But a story about ghosts. The Red Hot Chili Peppers did a photo shoot for their album. I believe it was Blood Sugar Sex Magic. And they had this weird image that appeared in one of their photos. And they actually brought a paranormal team to investigate because it looked like the face of a ghost or an apparition. And then they were just trying to find out what was really going on. They're like, every footstep those guys took, they're like, oh, I feel some energy. Now, it's possible that there could have just been some issue with the camera that took that photo, or it could be that they actually captured a spirit on film. Anyway, they used that photo in their album jacket, like on the inside of the cover. That would be one story that I have said. But have you ever come into contact with a ghost? Oh, no, I haven't. And somebody once referred to me as a paranormal blocker, where I am the type of person who does not experience paranormal activity. And you might just be like, well, you don't have an overactive imagination, or you might be like, yeah, there's some truth to that. that these things are real, they just only affect certain people. But here's an interesting question. Do you think that there is truth behind superstitions? Absolutely, there is truth behind superstitions, because there is a reason why people are doing these things. They are looking at ways to keep someone safe, or to protect their property, or so people don't do dangerous activities. For example, if someone is going to break a mirror is very fragile. They say you'll get 7 years bad luck if you break that mirror. Well, it's something that's fragile, it might even be expensive, and it's a way to encourage people to be safe and secure. Do I actually believe that breaking a mirror will give you 7 years bad luck? Well, no, because I even remember back to being a kid. My sister broke the rear view mirror in the car. Like, my dad had this Mazda 323, and my sister broke the mirror. Like, there was a crack and some glass fell out of it. And I would always tell people, no, that's not true. My sister broke a mirror and she didn't have 7 years bad luck. But it's just encouraging people to be safe and so on. The same thing with like a black cat crossing your path. Well, they're trying to keep you away from stray animals because they could be carrying disease and so on. Now, what are some superstitions in your country? I said too about the breaking of the mirror and the black cat crossing the path, that's bad luck. Also, walking under a ladder, just like that. That's another superstition. It's encouraging people to be safe. What numbers are considered to be lucky and unlucky in your country? Lucky number would actually be 7. Absolutely 7. And then sometimes people think the number 3 is a piece of good luck. And speaking of that, 3 has a couple different reasons. Somebody was on the television once and said, human beings in the Western world just have this connection to the number 7 and the number 3. But 3 is heavily connected to the Holy Trinity, and I'm not going to do anything religious on you guys, but I found this movie this year called 333 The Witching Hour. It was 2 hours and 19 minutes long. I had to watch 1 hour one day, 40 minutes the next day, and then 40 minutes the next day. I spent like the whole weekend just watching that in the evenings, and I was like, is this the best use of my time? It's a movie that has some good rough humor. Some of the humor would be so outdated, I don't know if people would even be able to appreciate it now. But 333, The Witching Hour. And the reason why I wanted to watch this is I did an episode on BBOR back in 2018 called just that. 333, The Peak Hour of Paranormal Activity. And I didn't know that somebody had made a film about that, but that's what 333 in the morning is. And they call it the witching hour, but really it's the witching minute. And I wanted to know if they were going to talk about how 333 in the morning is it's a mockery of the Holy Trinity, and that's when evil spirits are most likely out and about. So what I said in the BBOR episode, which is one of my favorite things that I've ever done on the channel, is how exactly would that work? What about time zones? Are the evil spirits just going from like one time zone to the next, and so on? But in this movie, it's one where you have to like awkward facial expressions. About a third of the film is just filled with awkward facial expressions. And if they cut out the awkward facial expressions, they probably would only have a 90-minute film. But that's what's good with horror. Like when you're watching a horror movie, that's what you would want to see. That's what you would really want to like just have like a 90-minute horror film where people are going to be encountering some type of evil force that maybe it's going to slaughter 2/3, if not 90% or 99% of the cast, and so on. But this thing about the witching hour, they didn't really get into the mockery of the Holy Trinity. They said they believed that Jesus was crucified at 333, and it's a response to that. The same thing, though, that's the peak time of paranormal activity, but it's mocking the crucifixion rather than the Holy Trinity, but those things could go hand in hand. I've been trying to catch up with some horror this year, and in addition to Halloween Kills, I was also watching the Paranormal Activity movies. I saw Paranormal Activity 4, even though I didn't see 2 and 3, and then Paranormal Activity, the marked ones, and they have one coming out, it should be out today, on Paramount Plus called Next of Kin, Paranormal Activity Next of Kin. I'm going to be watching some of those this weekend. I never saw Paranormal Activity 2 and 3, but I don't think I missed out on too much, but when Paranormal Activity 1 came out, everybody was thinking that this is one of the series that is going to be the new horror franchise. They're like, this is the scariest movie ever because it's shot like with a handy cam, or they're making you think that it's shot with a handy cam and that this could actually be happening to you. Now, of course, when I saw it, there were a few good horror aspects, and that's the way I would say with all of them. Like, they're not the most well done movies, but there are some entertaining aspects for horror films. Even in Paranormal Activity 4, during that ending, I was like, wow, that's kind of badass. So, we have some stuff here about psychics and fortune tellers. Have you ever gone to a psychic? I did when I was in the third grade as part of a haunted house, and the psychic fortune teller was like, "You're in the third grade. I can see your future. Multiplication, long division." And I was like, oh no. First I was like, well, that's really boring, but I didn't really appreciate how basically funny that is, that the haunted house fortune teller is telling me the truth, actually, that, oh, there's a lot of multiplication and division. And in the fourth grade, I sucked at division. I sucked at math. I've never really I was actually a good math student up until then, actually, and some reasons changed, but then my performance academically went down. Not to mention hormones and adolescence and indifference to human life and so on. Do you know anyone that has ever been to a psychic? No, not personally, but some psychics have written into the channel and they share their true crime theories. And I did a very large one about the disappearance and then murder of Kaylee Marie Anthony, and one psychic wrote in providing her theory. Her name was Alberta Vila, and I only did that because she wrote out such a clear narrative on what she believed happened to Kaylee Marie Anthony, Kaylee Anthony, the daughter of Casey Anthony, and then you didn't need psychic powers to comprehend her narrative. I also did one for the Zodiac Killer when that guy Aphrodite, who claims that he's a psychic, is giving his theory on the Zodiac Killer, but the parts that I shared on this channel weren't relevant to psychic powers. And his theory about the Zodiac Killer was that there was a woman involved, that the letters and the ciphers were designed by a woman, and I actually directed him toward Ray Grant's book Zodiac Killer Solved, which is all about that, about how a woman, her name was Berta Margulies, was involved with the planning process, and just like the way that Aphrodite had laid out. But Ray Grant's Zodiac Killer theory has 4 participants: Gareth Penn, Michael O'Hare, Hugh Penn, and Berta Margulies. And I was talking about that with Michael Butterfield on our interview, Zodiac Killer Interviews with the Experts, which is on the Zodiac Killer channel. I'm the host of that program, and he called it the parents theory. I think that's a good way of labeling it. Do you think that some people can predict the future? No, not exactly in the 100% pure predictive sense. I like to do it with sports games. I mean, say, for example, I'm about to watch a football game. I like to predict the score. And I'm always wrong. Okay, I'm not always wrong. I was right one time, like, oh yeah, I think this team's going to win 23-20. I was right one time. I mean, but I like to do things like that. But that's not predicting the future, that's making an educated guess. Now, is the belief that UFOs, aliens, and psychic powers growing because a belief in religion is dying? Oh no, a belief in religion is not dying. It's just changing different forms. The writer Reza Aslan talks a lot about that, and about how we're going to be incorporating new scientific elements into our belief systems. Like, well, I don't even want to give some examples, but there's going to be a lot of crossover, and there are going to be more science-based religions. But what makes you think that UFOs, aliens, and psychic powers are growing or declining? I mean, since there have been people watching the night sky. There have been these encounters with UFOs, and there's even that one painting that features the Madonna and San Giovanni that features what looks like a UFO or some type of flying saucer device. I mean, people do this all the time. Like, this has been going on for centuries. I mean, or millennia even, if you want to go back to some of the old discoveries that they have found. Ancient aliens. I mean, you must have heard of that show. I mean, the guy who with like the spiky hair who always says the answer is aliens. Well, he's talking about ancient aliens. These encounters and observations have been going on for millennia, thousands of years, and also this thing about psychic powers that has also been around for thousands of years, where somebody believes that the power of their mind can be projected into the external world and can control things without physical contact. It's not physical, it's psychic, and so on. I'm very skeptical of that, but I was once talking with somebody about this, and they mentioned psychic surgery. No, sorry, I mentioned it because I was really into the comedian Andy Kaufman at the time, trying to watch all of his videos, and he died from cancer. And I read online, I think it was on the Wikipedia actually, that he had attempted psychic surgery as a last-ditch effort, a last resort effort, I should say. And someone was telling me that's for real. I was like, no, it's not. Psychic surgery, it's not real. And what she said was, well, have you ever heard of the placebo effect? I'm like, yeah. She's like, well, that's what psychic surgery is. It's a variant of that. It's like when you try to if someone were to take medicine that isn't real, it's just a placebo, but then it makes them better. Well, I mean, that's what psychic surgery is, in effect. You're trying to convince yourself that you don't have this type of sickness. So, but there is this problem with the word psychic is that wouldn't be projecting your mind outward into the external world. That's still like the human brain working inside the human body. But that goes to show you that the human brain is very powerful. And they talk about this a lot in the movie Split, like M. Night Shyamalan, the one he did with James McAvoy about the guy who has 23 multiple personalities. And they share things like someone is blind, for example, but through the addition of multiple personalities, their brain corrected something in the occipital lobe. It's been a long time since I've seen that movie. If I've if I've misstated anything, forgive me. But the brain corrects something in the occipital lobe, and this person can see again. The brain is very powerful, and things like that can happen. Now, on that note, though, about like the powers of the human brain, it really is very amazing what we're going to be able to do. I mean, there could be all sorts of like revolutions of consciousness that are going to happen. And I don't mean in the spiritual sense, like I've talked about before on the channel, but somebody posted this once, I think in the year 2040, that people are going to be getting all types of new abilities, practically like the X-Men and so on. I can't wait for that. But if you ever do watch the movie Split with James McAvoy, it's about this guy named Kevin who has these 23 multiple personalities. But there's this sub-story in it about a girl who is being abused by her uncle. And I'm like, you have this amazing storyline about a guy and all of these different characters and personalities that James McAvoy is playing. And I thought the sub story about the girl was much more fascinating. I'm like, I want to know what's going to happen with her. And I was totally captivated by her. For me, she stole the show, but I think I'm the only one. That character, Kevin, I think his name was by James McAvoy, though, he reappears in M. Night Shyamalan's movie Glass, which also has Bruce Willis and Samuel L. Jackson. Those guys have done a couple films together, come to think, Bruce Willis and Samuel L. Jackson. Oh, now here's one. Have you ever had a dream that came true? That's an interesting question because I get deja vu all the time, where, and this is another good challenge question for you guys. Do you ever get that experience, like when you're just looking at somebody doing something, you're like, holy crap, I've experienced this before. It feels like a memory from 5 years ago. It's like, I feel like I was here 5 years ago, but you aren't completely sure that that's possible. Like, say, for example, you're just walking down the street with someone, maybe talking to a friend, you're like, wait a second, this happened a really long time ago. And because of those countdown websites like Dark 5, All Time 10s, they shared some things about deja vu. And what was said in those is that the brain is creating memories all the time. And when you remember something, you're actually remembering the last time that you remembered it. So, yeah, it happened, and then you're remembering what happened a second ago. So that's why it feels like a memory from 5 years ago. Like I'm watching a football game, and I remember that I'm watching the football game, even though it's just something that happened a couple moments ago. So sometimes it feels like an old memory. But yeah, I get that all the time. And I know that's not exactly a dream, but the way that I process it in my brain, it feels like maybe it was a dream that I had ages ago. If I ever had a dream that came true, then in some ways, I don't know about you, but I think that the dreams where I get to chill with celebrities and just do like, badass Hollywood partying and so on with whatever type of A-list star that you can think of. And I had this dream once where Brad Pitt taught me how to speak German. And then when I actually went to German class, as an adult, he was completely wrong. And I was like, shame on you, Brad Pitt, for teaching me the language incorrectly. Um, but yeah, like doing stuff like that. Um, I don't know why, but come to think, there was another guy that was speaking German in my dream. Like, do you know Andrew Zimmern, the chef? He did that show Bizarre Foods, where you go to different countries and eat really weird stuff. I was obsessed with that back in high school. Well, he was in a dream that I had once, and he was wearing this red snakeskin jacket, and he was talking to me in fluent German, and I didn't understand a thing he was saying, which is weird because it's my dream, like it should all be happening in my brain. And these aren't really the best examples of dreams that came true, chilling with Brad Pitt and some guy from the Travel Channel. However, the dreams are amazing. But from an early age, I decided to view dreams as just entertainment. It's like experiencing those things that you can't truly experience later on in life. Like, I mean, it's just entertaining. It's like when you see this image in your dream, then it actually is significant of this deeply held belief. I don't get into any of that. And I was even given a disclaimer that you're not that there really isn't a lot of hard science behind it. And if anything, dreams are distracting you while you're trying to sleep, so they get really weird. And there's this belief out there that if you eat like really greasy food before you go to sleep, you'll get weird dreams. Several television shows have done storylines about this. And what I tried to do that when I was back in college, just ate a bunch of like really greasy stuff before bed to see if I would have weird dreams. And I was actually hanging out with a different actress, not Brad Pitt, even though he's not an actress, but do you know Nicolette Sheridan? The actress Nicolette Sheridan was there, and she was just throwing dollar bills at me, but they weren't like paper bills. They were cubes. Like, just imagine a cube, like a Rubik's Cube, but it's a dollar bill, and she's just throwing them at me, and she's not super angry. I love dreams. I mean, I could go on forever, but here's something new about a book project that I've always wanted to do. I wanted to create something called the Summer Solstice Dream Journal. And I had the idea for this because it was in the summertime when I thought of the concept. So what I was thinking about was just record like my dreams from the summer solstice all the way through a 12-month cycle. I mean, it's kind of difficult to get involved with 12-month cycles because, that might lead to some other type of pattern seeking and so on, a la Zodiac. But I wanted to do that, just like start on the 21st of June and then just record every dream that I could remember and write them out into stories. There are a couple book projects that I have in the works that I was talking about earlier, and I mean, because after putting out Killer on a White Horse, I found my old manuscripts, and I'm like, I want to do something with them, spent time creating them, and just I want to share them and put them out there. So we'll see about that. Now, do you believe in horoscopes? Well, I talked all about this on AstroPsych 400. Do you believe in horoscopes? If you haven't listened to the channel AstroPsych 400 yet, it's also done by me, and I'm going to be doing a lot more with that in the future. But with AstroPsych 400, I was saying that I don't exactly believe that the alignment of the stars on the day you were born can affect your mood, your temperament, and your personality. What I genuinely do believe is that the changes in the seasons in relation to the date of your birth affect your personality. Like, you look forward to your birthday in the summertime, that causes a different type of thinking than if you look forward to the date of your birth in the wintertime. Do you read your horoscope? No, I don't. If so, do you believe it? I don't read it. Are horoscopes important? Oh no, they're just entertainment. It's like dream interpretation. I mean, I could do a solid book project on dream interpretation, but we have to remember something like that is just meant to share some entertaining stories. I don't really believe that it's going to be some type of gateway into the soul. They have questions about the unexplained. Has anything ever happened to you that you cannot explain? There must be. There must be something. I wrote a story about this in college when I was in creative writing. I think it was English 201, not 101. English 101 was a bit of a drag, to be honest. I did learn things from it, but I don't want to get too sidetracked and so on. But English 201, whatever number it was, about this one, I was just sitting on a bus. I was on a public bus in Pennsylvania, and I had a bottle of Coke in my hand, like I think it was just classic Coca-Cola, and I looked down, and in my hand, all of a sudden, there appeared a diamond ring. It was made of plastic, but it looked like a diamond engagement ring, and I was like, it's just in my hand, and okay, can I explain that? I think that it was a piece of plastic that was stuck to the Coke bottle in the vending machine, or maybe it was in that little vending machine area, and maybe the Coke bottle landed on it and it got stuck to it somehow. But I just looked down and there's a diamond ring in my hand, and I wrote my first story about that, and that got really into the supernatural and spirits and ghosts and all of that. However, I I don't have a solid explanation for that, other than just what I said there, but usually there are things that have some type of explanation. I mean, when I was working at a summer camp once, there were only 4 of us that stayed behind, and everybody else went home for the weekend. 4 of us decided to stay at the camp for the weekend, so there should have been nobody else at the camp. And when I was walking outside, there was this orange light that appeared in the forest. Not like a yellow flashlight or something, but there's just this orange light that appeared. And it seemed like an orb. But, I mean, maybe it was a hunter, maybe the ranger came back for something, or maybe it was just an automatic light that turned on. I don't know, but it was just like, you're just looking off into the nearby woods, and you're like, what is that? Why is that there? That shouldn't be there. So yeah, there are things that haven't had the best explanations for. Do you believe that there are many things in our universe that cannot be explained? Give examples. Here's something where we're going to get really intense. You might not be able to calculate it, but it still might exist. I believe in infinity. I believe in infinity. There are all these people like, the human brain can't comprehend infinity. No, you can comprehend it. Infinity, I mean, what does that mean? It means that it's endless, it's limitless, it goes on forever. You can't calculate it. Like, I can't write down all the numbers to infinity, but I understand that the concept goes on to infinity, and the concept is always present, therefore it's it's infinite. But I can't calculate it. So there are things that we can explain. We might not be able to demonstrate it all the time. Do you believe that you are from another planet? What? Do I believe that I am from another planet? I'm going to entertain this question and be like, oh, we are all made of stars, right? We all have some type of matter and energy with us. We're all made of the same stuff. No, but some people, believe that maybe when they die they're going to be going to another planet. Or the psychic Uri Geller said that he got his psychic powers from the distant planet Hoova, Hoova, Hoova. So there are people out there who say that. Do you believe that you're from another planet? Well, what planet would I be from? Uranus? I don't know. Have you ever tried to contact another planet? Have I tried? No, I have not tried to contact another planet. What am I gonna use my dial-up AOL back when I was in high school? You know that like dee-doo. Hey, yeah, hello, is this Mars? Hi, I'm talking to you with America Online using a dial-up modem. How's it going on Mars? Like, how would I contact another planet? I would love to. I would love to. I'd love to be one of those people that sends out a radio signal into space, hoping that we would encounter something. But I don't know, have any idea how to do that. But screw Mars. I'm more into Uranus and Neptune, and I wrote this short story once, though, about how there are going to be humans living in the upper atmosphere of Uranus, because I think the show was called Naked Science on the, it was either Discovery or Nat Geo, I think Nat Geo, and they were just looking at all the different planets in our solar system and which ones would be suitable for human life, and Neptune out of the question because they have 1,200 mile per hour winds, and if you even to put like space pods in the upper atmosphere, they would be destroyed. Uranus seemed like a better option to me, and a guardedly, well-guarded secret, excuse me, about Uranus is there actually is water. There's ammoniized water, if I'm using that word correctly, on Uranus, and I think Neptune as well, but it's like throughout the atmosphere to the I just looked at a couple of models, so of course they said Mars was the most likely candidate. Stephen Hawking said within 500 years, not only will Mars have its own colonies and civilization, but there will even be Martian fashion and cuisine, that Mars is going to be completely colonized by humans over the next 500 years. I would love to see that, except for the fact that I'll be dead. Now, do you believe that UFOs exist? As far as unidentified flying objects, absolutely, those are real. There are all kinds of unidentified flying objects. But do I think that they're actually from aliens? I'll believe it when I see it. Do you know anyone who has said that they have seen a UFO? I've heard lots of stories about them from people online, and I knew someone who claimed that his uncle was firsthand working with the government and so on. Like, instead of a friend story, it's like a friend of my uncle's story or whatever. But I actually don't know too many people who have firsthand said that they've encountered UFOs and aliens. But the stories that I really zone in on are Travis Walton, Riley Martin, and I think it was Steve who recommended this for one of the AMAs, asking about the David Fravor UFO encounter. Just like, what do you think about that? That one was hard to find a solid explanation for, as opposed to the stuff about Riley Martin, who appeared on the Howard Stern show for many years, and he was given his own program on Sirius Satellite Radio called The Riley Martin Show. He talked about a lot of his experiences with an alien named Okwon Tangent Wan, whom he simply called Tan. The Coming of Tan was the name of his book. And a lot of what he experienced was recalled later on in life through hypnosis. And there was this public video that was put out, like it was a therapy session that Sirius Satellite wanted Riley Martin to do, and the therapist is just trying to get him to say, it seems like you were not loved by your parents on Earth, so you had to create love in outer space. And if it's memories that somebody has recalled later on in life through hypnosis, I formed a very odd hypothesis, and just simply thinking that these might be dreams that somebody is having. So that those might have been dreams that he was having as a kid, and then the hypnosis allowed him to experience that. Oh, what show was I listening to that was talking about hypnosis? I think it was The Rational Male, when it said that to be hypnotized, you have to be willing to be hypnotized. Like, if you're going to go into that and you're just saying this isn't going to work, then it's not going to work. And I think what he's talking about is to be an active participant in a relationship, you have to be willing to be an active participant in a relationship. Otherwise, it's just not going to work. And some people just think they're going to dominate other people, or they're going to push their way around, or that they're going to have power over somebody else, or that they are going to just not be a complete participant, and the other person will just give up and go along with what they want to do. Well, life isn't like that. Life is all about conflict and power and who has the most power, and that's very saddening. Have you ever seen the movie E.T.? Oh, absolutely. I've seen the movie E.T. We had that on VHS, E.T., and it was the only VHS we had that had, like, green on it. Like, it's kind of hard to explain, but on a VHS cassette, there are these wheels that would turn the physical tape. To the younger generation out there, they're going to have no idea what I'm talking about because of your damn Netflix and your damn Hulu. But there used to be this thing called VHS cassettes, and like E.T. had these green wheels on the cassette tape. But with that one, the first time that the character Elliot sees E.T. bothered me so much. I just thought it was so creepy. I just thought it was so weird and so bizarre. But on that note, I would like to share something with you guys. There are 3 movies that truly scared me when I was growing up. And scared, bothered, just made me very uncomfortable. And believe it or not, one of them is connected to space and aliens. And Johnny Depp did this movie called The Astronaut's Wife with Charlize Theron. And it's not even really a horror movie, it's kind of like a thriller. I think it's one of Johnny Depp's most underrated performances because he was just so creepy in it. And it's about how he's an astronaut, and then he goes into space, and then the astronauts come back. But something is wrong, and we aren't quite sure what, so we have to wait till the events of the movie play out to find out what happened. But he was just so unbelievably just like bone chilling in that film, The Astronaut's Wife, and that's not even a horror film. Now, another one is Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho, which I was talking about the last time I talked about movies. When I think classic Chevy Cat said with Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho, that movie isn't really a horror film, it's a thriller or a drama. But I think the reason why Psycho gets incorporated into the horror genre is because it's so terrifying. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, I gotta change the channel. I don't want to know what's on the other side of that wall and so on. Alfred Hitchcock could actually get into your psychology. And when you watch these slasher films like Michael Myers, Jason, Freddy Krueger, or some of the other gory films like Eli Roth's Hostel or The Descent or any of these horror films that are involving a lot of bloodshed and gore, those don't really get into your psychology. They just make you jump and they catch you off guard. Anybody could do that. That's not really scary. So yeah, I definitely thought that about Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho. And the third one is The Sixth Sense with Bruce Willis again, because even though that's not an extremely scary film, and I wasn't creeped out by the events of it, but there's a personal reason why that bothered me. I had a very big phobia of death when I was growing up. When I was 7 years old, I just realized that one day I was going to die. It's actually in a very silly way. They made this movie called Man of the House with Jonathan Taylor Thomas and Chevy Chase, and I was trying to reenact one of the scenes like that. They go camping, so I was trying to build my own little campsite in my grandmother's house. And all of a sudden, one day, I realized that I was going to die, and I just started crying. And from the time I was 7 until I was about 18, I had this very intense phobia of death. I was truly afraid of dying. And because I wouldn't exist anymore and that lack of ability to exist, like just the nothingness that would come after death, it really bothered me. And nothing anybody said had any impact on me. Nothing anybody said, don't worry about it, or they would say things like, so it's gonna be peaceful. That didn't help because that doesn't change what you're going to experience, and it doesn't change the inevitable, and it doesn't actually alleviate anything. That's just other people telling you to stop talking and to go along with their agenda. Hence, the world of power once again. I just grew out of it, to be honest, the phobia of death. But The Sixth Sense, of course, I see dead people, and it was really the twist at the end involving Bruce Willis, and just about blending in the states of being and death and so on, and I was very surprised by it, and it's a completely implausible storyline when you think about it, and I'm sure you guys are probably somewhat familiar with the Sixth Sense. I know that if you're not, spoiler alert is coming, but Bruce Willis is a ghost and he doesn't know it, and Haley Joel Osment's character can see dead people. But the big problem with that is, and I wrote about this on Facebook once, like they asked the question, what keeps you up late at night? And what I said was, when Bruce Willis was dead in The Sixth Sense, but he didn't know, what was he eating? Because it's just that, like, I mean, I can get that he didn't talk to anybody for 9 months other than Haley Joel Osment's character, but also, well, was he stealing food from supermarkets? I mean, did people not notice any type of food going missing? Or if they did, then that would prove that people would be aware that something was going on. They would have said something. Hey, the food's disappearing, and also that if he didn't need to eat, he should have known that within a 9 month period, he wasn't eating anything, and that something was wrong. And there are all types of reasons about how implausible that storyline is, but it was just because it was death related and so on. Now here's a question: do you believe in reincarnation? I definitely believe that we're going to become one with the earth and one with the cosmos. I don't believe that we'll be coming back as an exact animal or an exact creature, or even, as Dane Cook said, a ficus. So, not like that, but it will definitely be one with the earth. Have you ever felt that you knew someone the first time you met them? Not exactly, but I think there are some people that I bond with rather quickly. Have you ever visited a foreign country or city for the first time and found you knew exactly where things were? No. I'd love that ability, but like, screw it, Google Maps. No, I'm just meant to be in Ottawa, Canada. I know this place inside and out. No. Have you ever looked in the mirror and seen a different face? No, but I did try that Bloody Mary thing back when I was 23, 24, like lighting the candle and doing the Bloody Mary thing and nothing happened. I think that stuff is just very simply people can't see what's going on in the dark, so they see a shadow or something or a flicker of light, and they're like, whoa, that could be a ghost. What do you think a spirit would look like? Oh, I think it would look kind of like I'm trying to get the exact word. I was like, without using words like spirit, I think that it would look almost like a cloud or a puff with some type of anatomical features that did not come out the way that I wanted it to. Do you believe in angels? We are all made of stars, that's all I'll say about that. Do you believe in witches? Oh, do I believe in witches? I mean, some people claim they are witches and they're here on Earth. Again, do I believe that they actually have the ability to use magical powers to control the physical elements of the world without their body? And it's some type of magical energy? Well, it's just that if they're actually doing that, that isn't magic. That's just in a different part of science that we haven't evaluated yet. The laws of physics and biology just function differently for certain people, and it's far less extraordinary than they're making it out to be. I believe that people do rituals. I believe that people are involved with traditions that involve the term witches. Now, do they actually have these abilities? I'll believe it when I see it. Do you believe in coincidences? Yeah, I think coincidences are real and they happen. Do you believe in vampires? Do vampires exist? If they do, I'd love to meet one, but as of now, no. In many countries, people believe in ghost spirits and dragons. Is this true in your country? Why do you think these beliefs are so common? Oh, actually, I can answer this one because I've talked about this a little bit in the Bigfoot episodes. I have at least 2 episodes mostly about Bigfoot here on this channel. And somebody pointed this out. Whether it's spirits, ghosts, dragons, Sasquatch, all over the world you experience this stuff about like a lizard that has additional abilities like a fire-breathing dragon or it can fly and fight. Or with Bigfoot, it's that there's this very tall primate that is walking around in the woods, and people see this in Australia, Russia, like the Yeti and so on, and of course the Pacific Northwest in America, the skunk ape in Florida. And then there are also these things about ghosts. Every part of the world has ghosts. What is that? Why is that happening? It could be that the human brain is projecting character traits onto nature to make it seem more familiar. Oh, hey, look, a dark forest. I think I just saw a creature in the dark forest. Even though, like, is it a ghost or is it a spirit? Or there was a story that we read, like, as kids. It was just from a library book, but they said it was originally from the 3rd century in China, about how like a Chinese man meets a ghost and he asks the ghost to carry him for a while on their journey together, and the ghost is carrying him, and the ghost is like, "You're so heavy," and he's like, "Well, I'm only recently dead. I'm a new ghost." And then the man takes a turn carrying the ghost, and the ghost weighs nothing. I don't remember anything else about that story. I just thought it was really cool. But I did learn about something like a Chinese vampire called Jiangshi. Like, I'd never heard of this before. It's something similar to a vampire, but that's what they call them. Jiangshi, Jiangshi, Jiangshi. I used to live in China. I never heard about them then. People don't really talk about vampires too much over there. What is the most frightening thing that has ever happened to you? I would quote the movie Hayride and just say, the only monsters out there are the ones on 2 legs. Have you ever been in a cemetery at night? I don't know, actually. Would you go? Oh, I'm not afraid of ghosts, if that's what you mean. Yeah, bring it on. I'd love to do that. I mean, sure, why not? But, I don't know how practical it would be to go to a cemetery at night. Do you believe that people who are bad alive pay for their bad behavior by staying in the cemetery? Oh, you mean some type of like purgatory or confinement to the earth, like being a ghost? I hope there's some type of cosmic justice like that, but I don't know of its existence. Have you ever played Ouija? Yes, I have. I've used a Ouija board, and I loaned it to a guy named Chris. I asked for a Ouija board for Christmas because they had commercials about it, and I had no idea that people are actually into this. I loaned it to this guy named Chris, and he wanted to talk to the devil for some reason. And he's like, I took your Ouija board and I set it on fire. I burned it. And I was like, you ding dong, what the hell is wrong with you? That was mine. It wasn't yours. I thought the devil was going to come into my house. So I burned it. So that was the end of my Ouija board. And do you get scared by horror stories? Almost certainly not, except for those 3 that I talked about. Do you believe that when you get a chill down your back, it's a rabbit running over a grave? What kind of question is that? No. Every time you do something, a ninja chops a cat's head off. Let's kill some cats tonight. Do you think that a supernatural creature can be caught by someone? Supernatural is the same as magic. Nothing can be above nature. Nature is the totality of all the existing processes. And if it did indeed exist, it would just be an additional part of nature that we haven't evaluated yet. Where is the scariest place in your country? I'm pretty sure some of these West Virginian backwater towns, perhaps. Do you believe your ancestors are watching you? I hope so. It'd be nice to have someone to talk to late at night. What's the spookiest thing that's ever happened to you? Monsters on 2 legs. Do you believe in witches and the practice of witchcraft? You already asked me that. And what would you do or how would you react if one of your friends admitted that she practices witchcraft? I'd think it's cool. And I also want to share something about Halloween music with you guys. During the month of October, of course I watch horror films, but there are also certain songs and music videos that I think about, and I have to involve the band Typo Negative, particularly for their song Black Number One. I believe the frontman, Peter Steele, has passed away. Actually, I know for a fact he has passed away. I don't believe that did indeed happen. They did the song Black Number One. They did songs like Blood and Fire and My Girlfriend's Girlfriend. That was a good one. One of the best keyboard riffs ever is in that song. But the song Black Number One by Typo Negative is very much a horror theme song. But there's this time in life when you listen to music and you start singing along even if you don't know the words. And I wasn't one of those people who used lyric sheets back in high school. I would just sing the sound, like whatever sound that was coming out of the musician's mouth, I would just go along with that, even if I didn't know the word. And I blame Nirvana for this. Damn, growing up in the 90s listening to rah, 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 spirit. Like if that's what Nirvana sound like, which I don't think it does, but come to think, the whole point is you can't understand the words all the time. So Typo Negative had this song, Black Number One, and they had this line that says, you want to go out because it's red and glowing. You can't go out because your boobs are showing. And I was just like, that is the dorkiest, absolute, most ridiculous song lyric in the world. And I was like, no matter what, I would refuse to say that part of the song. You can't go out because your boobs are showing. What on earth is that? But that's not what he's saying, of course. I mean, some of you are probably thinking right now he probably was saying something else that makes no sense. It's you want to go out because it's red and glow, and you can't go out because your roots are showing, not your boobs, your roots. Because the very next line is Diet Black. The song is called Black Number One. You want to go out because it's red and glow, and you can't go out because your roots are showing, Diet Black. But I listened to that song and I watched that music video a lot in October every year. And another one is from the band Motigrator. They did a song called Down, and Motigrator was a band that was popular in the early part of the new millennium for a little bit. They were on MTV2 a lot, and I don't know if they did much after that one album, but they had a song featured in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake, their song Suffocate. But I really like their song Down. I think that the music video also blends in really well with the whole horror movie scene. The motigrator is actually an instrument that the band is named after. They invented their own instrument called the motigrator, which consists of playing a series of industrial cables that have been strung together with gears to make music. I thought that was really interesting as well. And the other ones are from The Nightmare Before Christmas, particularly Jack's Lament, sung by Danny Elfman. But everyone zones in on that song that goes, "This is Halloween, this is Halloween." I think Jack's Lament is perhaps the better song for that movie. If you haven't seen The Nightmare Before Christmas, you absolutely need to. And then you can even watch Corpse Bride. It was kind of done in the same tradition, but it's good to just watch entertaining content. Corpse Bride was perhaps what you would call a tackier attempt at recreating that style of film. I mean, very different storylines, but The Nightmare Before Christmas is an absolute must. Just wanted to throw that in there very quickly. And I also wanted to use this as an opportunity to talk to you guys about some future developments with the channel and some other things. 2022 is hopefully going to be an ambitious year. I'm trying to get the next book finished by the end of this year, 2021, and it's going to be an assembly of some short things that I've put together over the years, and one of them is actually being rewritten. I wrote one story in 2010 that I wanted to expand into something a little bit larger, so I'm hoping that that's going to be out by December of 2021. And in 2022, if time allows, I mean, we'll see how things play out, I will be doing a lot more with AstroPsych 400. And I did one episode on this channel called The Podcast for Sleep because, not to brag or anything, but I think that BlackBoxOnlineRadio is a good podcast that you can use late at night. However, I think that I could really make a very good podcast customized for helping people fall asleep. But I was talking to somebody about that, asking, do you think that's too different for the BBOR episodes? Like, do you think that doesn't go with the other type of material I make on this channel, which is mostly true crime oriented, except for these things like the Halloween celebration? And they said yes, so I'm thinking about just putting that stuff out on either AstroPsych 400, which is the YouTube channel to talk about astrology, psychology, and perhaps in the future podcasts for sleep, because I use audio to fall asleep with every night. I started doing this back in 2015. I would just keep the television on when I was trying to go to sleep because I had this studio apartment, and I would watch TV during the day and just keep it on during the night, but at low volume. And I did that most of the time. Like, sometimes I would, sometimes I wouldn't. However, in 2019, I absolutely did every single night, and every night since then, no matter where I am, I use audio to fall asleep. One of you guys in the comment section actually introduced me to Porkins Policy Radio, hosted by a guy named Piers Redman, and they would talk all about the OJ Truther movement, and I began using that one to fall asleep with every night. Some good vibes to surround yourself with when you're going to sleep. But I really found that BBOR works for that because I don't use a lot of bumper music. I don't use a lot of weird interjections. Like, I talked about the Tate LaBianca radio program hosted by Brian Davis. I love that show, but I was just listening along to one episode, and then he just started shouting from the top of his lungs, and, it just really caught me off guard. And I was like, you're just listening, and then someone starts screaming full volume in an unexpected way. Yeah, I wouldn't use that if I were trying to fall asleep at night. And also, here's something else. I stopped doing that with true crime. I do not use true crime programs to fall asleep at night, unless maybe it's something that I've created. But I think there are other things that are much better to do with that, like any other subject. It's just with true crime, I want to actually focus on the story. I want to focus on what's going on. And something like politics, religion, yeah, I don't give a crap about that. I mean, yeah, I can use that to fall asleep, and that's just kind of like surrounding myself with the narrative and then just drifting off, sure. But I actually do want to focus on the true crime stuff. So I think that I would want to do it because I'm kind of halfway in, halfway out, and I don't know, it might be something that could happen much more frequently in 2019. 2019, that's already happened, as well as the wonderful 2020. No, 2022. If possible, I'll do a lot more on some other channels. And you know what? When I was sitting around thinking about starting a YouTube channel, I wanted to focus on the actual channel aspect of it. Because I always noticed that YouTube channels were referred to as just that, channels. However, not everyone was using them as a channel with many different programs. And I've said many times that I was inspired by the Lord and Arts channel to do things on YouTube. I was an avid follower of the Lord and Arts channel in 2015, 16, and 17 because I got involved with the disappearance of Elisa Lam, meaning just becoming someone who was watching many videos on it, and I learned about John Lorden's videos on Elisa Lam, and he was actually providing in-depth coverage, going through the source documents like the autopsy report, as well as attending some of the local things like the hearings, I guess you'd call it that, where the judge makes a ruling about whether or not to pursue legal action against the Cecil Hotel in Los Angeles, and he was using real facts as opposed to just some wild theories like, oh, is she playing the elevator game or something? Elisa Lam, of course, the girl who was seen on the video in the Cecil Hotel acting very strangely, and then she was found dead in a water tank on top of the hotel, and what happened. And just to give a long story short, I believe that it was just an accidental death, that she did not commit suicide, but she voluntarily entered the water tank because she was having a manic episode. And I've talked about Elisa Lam in several other cases, but in several other episodes here on this channel. But John Lorden divided his show into 5 different episodes. He divided his channel into 5 different shows, is perhaps a better way of putting it. On Monday, he would do this type of show, and on Tuesdays, he would do one about movies, and then on Wednesdays, it would be about missing persons cases, and then on Thursdays, he would have a topic, and Friday would just be like open true crime. Monday was actually the Case Cracked one, or, well, for a while it was just his personal vlog, but he had like a channel with 5 different shows, and I thought that, what would I do if I were to make a YouTube channel? And the original concept that I came up with was I was going to talk about true crime on one day, and then one day would be devoted to half politics and half things like the CIA, the deep state, and the New World Order. Yeah, it would be political at times, kind of the way that Alex Jones used to be political at times. He definitely became more political up into 2016, but yeah, of course, you can talk about some political things, but then focusing on the CIA, the deep state, and the shadow government, that stuff would be one day. And the third show that I wanted on the channel was to be a sports show, like to do Sports Fridays. And I'm not going to do that on Black Box Online Radio because this channel is busy enough. And as I've said, I've had a little bit of trouble keeping up with all of the Wednesday episodes. I'm really trying to put out Zodiac Mondays regularly, talk about the disappearance of Donna Lass, and do the Anything Goes Friday segment, but that's the way that I imagined it. If I were to have a YouTube channel back in 2017 before I started this, I thought I would like to do a true crime spot, a um, political spot, we'll just call it that. Well, why don't we say conspiracy theories? Because it wouldn't be something like Rush Limbaugh, but maybe like a more level-headed Alex Jones kind of thing, but a conspiracy theory spot, and then do a Sports Friday. But I'm hoping that sometime in 2022, maybe once a week, I'll be able to do the sports show on a different channel, and we'll see. We'll see. I mean, as of now, I absolutely do not have the time for all this. This is like what I want to do, not what I am able to do. But that would mean that Black Box Online Radio might shift into a different format, because somebody was asking me that question about BBOR about 8 or 9 months ago, saying, will you ever do call-in live streams or a call-in podcast or like a live talk radio thing where people can call the show and ask questions about true crime cases? And I'm like, I absolutely love the idea. What I think would happen first is that I might just do live streaming where you guys can respond in the comments section and, follow the chat window. And maybe, just maybe at some point, there would be like a scheduled caller, like the way that Stefan Molyneux used to do Free Domain Radio. It would be like Saturday is the day for the show, and like people could email me throughout the week, and I'd be like, okay, I would like you to be my guest at 3 o'clock. You call in the show at 3 o'clock, and it's all recorded on a live stream. So then that way you wouldn't have to have a producer filtering out like the prank callers and so on. And even if somebody does sign up as a prank and says something ridiculous, okay, well then I can just goof on them for an hour, and then we can talk to somebody else. But that way you could have callers, like it could be a call-in show, but all the guests are pre-planned, and if you want to make your call, then I'll assign 2:30 p.m. to you on this date, and then you would call in at that time. So as opposed to just everybody calling in once and you're waiting in the queue, that might happen at some point. I don't know when. I mean, the future is open. Who really knows what's going to happen? I mean, maybe I'll die tomorrow. Someone gets struck by lightning or some other thing like that. We just do not know. But anyway, it's been an amazing experience talking to you guys on Black Box Online Radio, and it's good to do these check-in sessions where I can just do the personal vlog, talk about the updates, and also in 2022, there will be a new book coming out. I mean, as soon as I finish this one of shorts, which is going to be like some small things put together, I want to either write that full circle theory novel, like write something about the Zodiac Killer, but change all the names so it's fiction, and perhaps change some details of the case, but actually have the real crimes, like somebody committed a series of murders in 68 and 69, and maybe the murder started in 1962, and then some people are trying to solve the case that way. The full circle theory, also meaning that the murders of Ray Davis and Paul Stein are meant to mirror each other. The Domingos Edwards and the Lake Berryessa stabbing events are meant to mirror each other, like talking about how the killer's trying to go full circle. I have that novel in concept, I just need to write it out. But also, I do have an old manuscript, like a novel that I wrote back in high school. It is on notebook paper, and it's like actually just right over there on the shelf. And part of me really just wants to type that out, and I found a way that I could convert that one into what I think would be an entertaining read. I would actually be modifying a lot of the story, but I thought of a way that I could present that into somewhat of a 21st century format. And part of me is like, I need to finish what I've started in the past before I move on to something new. So, that is definitely not what I think you guys would really be expecting about, that's actually going to be about a teenage girl and her descent into madness. Part of me is like, I wrote it. I want to put it out there. I mean, I want to do that. It's just, I mean, there aren't enough hours in the day. And I've always said, and I was also thinking about this the other day, I said if there were an eighth day in the week and I could do another deep dive podcast, I mean, like how I do the Thursday shows about the disappearance of Donna Lass, if I could do another one of those, I would do it on the 1969 murder of Kenneth Martin, who was killed by Kenneth Harrison, the Giggler, or also known as the Boston Giggler. He operated primarily from 1967 to 69, and thank you to Kelly Gable, who introduced me to that case, just because his death has been attributed to the serial killer known as the Boston Giggler, but I'm not convinced. I have an enormous amount of doubts. It's going to be hard, though. I mean, talking about the Zodiac Killer is difficult because people get a little bit lazy with the details. They get fluffy with the details. They get a little bit far out and wacky with the details. I was just saying this on Thursday's episode about the disappearance of Donna Lass. In Lyndon Lafferty's book, The Zodiac Killer Cover-Up, also known as The Silence Badge, he lists the date of Donna Lass's disappearance as September 26th of 1970, and he says this multiple times throughout the book, and he built his whole theory on Donna Lass about how she was abducted on September 26th. It's meant to pay homage to the Lake Berryessa stabbing, which occurred on September 27th of 69. 364 days later, I mean, maybe, the Zodiac abducted Donna Lass. But that's all baloney. It's all false. It's just not true. Donna Lass disappeared on September 6th of 1970, not the 26th. But if that were the first book that you had read about the Zodiac Killer, you probably would put that date in your mind and be like, oh, everybody else is wrong. No, this Lafferty guy was on to something. But I don't think that's true, and I don't really know why Lyndon published the incorrect date. And he had 35 years to investigate this before putting out his book. Yet, I just don't know. But the point is, there's a lot of misinformation out there about the Zodiac Killer mystery, as well as some of the unconfirmed crimes, like the disappearance of Donna Lass, which I don't believe was connected to the Zodiac Killer. And with something like the story of the Boston Giggler, that's such an underreported case that I don't know how I would even begin to find information on that unless I would start contacting the Massachusetts archives or something, or trying to find old newspaper clippings about the Boston Giggler. Maybe some of them have been uploaded online. And I don't know who does this, but I have to give real credit to the people who are putting out publications from like the 1980s and 70s on the internet. And you can find like a typed up version of a newspaper article that was written in the 1980s, and that stuff is amazing for people like me who talk about true crime online a lot, just to read some of the original news coverage. However, I'm past the point in life where I want to sit around talking about something and not doing it. And that is a big reason why I started the YouTube channel Asterisk like 400, like when I was out of my day job and just kind of daydreaming about something and thinking, wow, I need to do like a 12-episode series on the signs of the zodiac, on the astrological signs, because I had this idea for a video series. And then I was just thinking, you know what? I need to do it. I can't just sit around and talk about these things like, yeah, it'd be a great idea if I did something like that. No, I need to actually do them. So that's why I was thinking more about really doing something about the disappearance and murder of Kenneth Martin, to find out the truth about what happened, because I don't like just sitting around thinking, yeah, I should start that segment, or I should devote some time to that. No, I want to actually put that plan into motion, and sometimes it's not the most successful thing. I mean, so many times on this channel, I thought of an idea for an episode, and it seemed really good in concept, but then it turned out to be a little bit lackluster, or a little bit less than enthusiastic with the crowds, as well as with my own personal take on the subject. There are now more than 1,000 episodes of Black Box Online Radio, although I confess that does count some of the little 2-minute pieces here and there, like I did a 2-minute celebration for having 200 subscribers, believe it or not, and I used to do those quite a while. I think all the way up till about 400, and I would always say the joke, here on BBOR, we celebrate 100 subscribers. Some people celebrate 1 million or 100,000. We celebrate 100, and I would just say things like that. But if you really do want to support the channel, I invite you to listen to some of the content in the description box, some of the older Halloween episodes. And I hope you're having a safe and wonderful Halloween. And if you want to listen to things like this, there's some more stuff there in the description box, and you can also download all of the backlog of BBOR for 2021. And the final thing I will leave you with is, back in 2014, I was so hyped up for Halloween. I knew exactly what my costume was going to be, and I remember in mid-September, I'm like, I can't wait for Halloween. I know what costume I want. I know how I want to do it. I know what I want to happen. And then Halloween night came around, and I was just by myself, like I have been many times. However, I thought that, well, I mean, I really did everything that I wanted. But now all the people that I was trying to talk to and connect with were busy doing their own Halloween things, which I had no part in. And I really could have used something like just listening to this type of podcast discussion like this. Like I could have used a 90-minute celebration of Halloween on YouTube. And that was just one of the ones where I felt that there was this enormous build-up within me, and then I just felt a little bit underwhelmed by the end result because of not having something like this. So that's one of the reasons why I wanted to do the Halloween episode this year, which will be one of the longer episodes of Black Box Online Radio. That night, though, back in 2014, I remember I really tried to get into the groove, and I watched the original Halloween by John Carpenter, a film which I've seen a bazillion times, and I watched Halloween Town, which was one that I had saw for the first time. It's kind of for kids, but I had never seen it, so I gave it a try. And then I just decided, all right, well, I guess it's time to get hyped up for the next event, and I put on some Christmas carols. It's like 4 a.m., I guess on November 1st at that point. But I was just like, let's just listen to Christmas music. I had such a great build up and excitement, and I was so hyped for Halloween. It's time to get hyped for Christmas. So that one was a little bit of a letdown, but I mean, life happens like that sometimes, and that's one of the reasons why I want to create things like this. The original Halloween, though, as I said, I watched that many times, and I got pulled into the Halloween franchise because of Halloween 5. It was on the TV once, and I had this friend who was really into Michael Myers. Like, and he talked a lot about the Halloween franchise, and Halloween 5 came on the TV, so I thought, I'll give it a try. And on AMC, back when I was in high school, they would always play Halloween 4 and Halloween 5. So I had the opportunity to watch those multiple times, and AMC even made this little jingle for their relentless promotions of those two films. Hush, little baby, don't make a noise. Michael's gonna kill half of Illinois. I don't remember the middle part, but the final line is, Michael Myers is coming to AMC. And if I ever do that sleep podcast, I am never ever going to sing on that one, especially not any type of lullaby. But yeah, they played those movies all the time. As I said last time I did the horror movie episode, Halloween 4 is an excellent piece of horror cinema. Halloween 5 is, well, not as good as I thought it was. But back in 2011, there was this promotion that was done for the original Halloween on AMC as well, and they weren't promoting Halloween 4 and 5. They were just starting from the beginning, and they had all of these kind of countdown to Halloween, and they talked about how even if you were to look at the trees in the movie, it will scare you. And I just began to appreciate that horror film more and more, and I watched it in 2011, 2012. I used to be a school teacher. I showed it to my students, and I saw it again in 2014. I've seen the original Halloween so many times. I kind of want to just watch it again right now, but I might actually watch Halloween 4 later on in a couple minutes. And I know I shouldn't do that. I know it's not a good use of my time. There's so many other movies out there that I could experience and encounter, but part of me wants to, and like maybe I should just do it, and they say it's good actually to watch the same movies over and over again because it can it can help you kind of relax and feel much more calming and so on. So I also had a big revelation though that year when they were showing the previews for Halloween over and over on AMC because that was in 2011. And that year my costume was a zombie. I bought this little zombie makeup kit from Walmart. And I remember I took some, selfie photos in the old-fashioned way when I didn't even have, well, I had a smartphone, but the way that we did selfie photos back then is when you just stand in the mirror and you take a mirror photo. And I took some photos of myself in the costume. And I decided that I was, not really going out that year. I didn't have any plan. I was just going to sit and eat some candy and watch the original Halloween in my zombie makeup. And I realized I can't even see myself. I don't even have a mirror in my bedroom. And as of now, I don't have one either. So my real celebration of Halloween is going to be on social media. And in 2011, I think that was very foreshadowing to this generation where we connect with people more through the internet, and social media has exploded since 2014. And so I don't think. Well, also, we have things like this where people are creating podcasts that you can listen to celebrate Halloween with, and I think that there's no shortage of ways to connect with people. But that was the first time in 2011 when I was like, the only way I'm sharing my costume is on social media. No one's going to see me. I mean, I just got dressed up at home and I sent out the photo to friends and I posted it on Facebook. I made my profile picture that zombie makeup and so on. And yeah, those are the good experiences. Those are the good experiences when you're just kind of like celebrating Halloween by yourself and so on, and people are still like, "Hey, cool zombie makeup," and you're like, "Thanks." That's the good stuff. That's one of the good sides of social media and so on. But anyway, I hope you're having a good Halloween. I'm going to eat some more candy and I'm going to also get these things. Like I ordered this stuff online. They're called Franken Sour energy drinks. It's from Rep Sports or no, not yeah, Rep Sports. The people that make these energy drinks. Rep Sports is like the company name that was on the order form. It was weird. Like I tried to buy like them online because they were on sale, and it just didn't go through. Nothing happened. You click proceed to check out and nothing happened. And then I was just thinking, hey, you don't want my money? Well, forget you then, you dopey ass Franken sour energy drinks. I mean, you guys can keep your piss water to yourselves. But then I got this email like 2 days ago saying, hey, your Halloween Franken sour energy drinks will arrive soon. And I'm like, okay, celebrate good times, come on. I hope you're having an awesome Halloween and party on. And you can always listen to more content in the description box from some of the previous years. And when I sign off on the Instagram journal, I say, stay safe, fairness, and empathy. And I hope that you will be doing that and just drop by here anytime. You can always like and subscribe to the channel. Write me at BlackBoxOnlineRadio at AOL.com. Follow the show on Instagram. And tune in for some excellent Halloween photos on Instagram all the same. And until next time.